Hello, I'm Joey Korn from Augusta, Georgia. I've spoken many times at ASD conferences, and not in many years. I'm glad to have this opportunity. I am going to tell you today about what I call interference energy. And interference energy is this weird energy that we can attract into our lives. It causes many problems in our lives and in the lives of those around us. And so I want to tell you as much as I can about it in this time we have together. I use this work. I work with the interference energy basically every day, sometimes several times a day, in my space clearing work. My full time work now is remote space clearing and personal energy clearing. And I do it all remotely. I can help people it can be anywhere in the world. And all I need to have is their name and address. I usually have begin with conversations over the phone, but the phone has nothing to do with it except for our communication with each other. And I do this work in a unique way where I actually connect all the energies in the remote home, including human-related energies, earth-related energies, electrical fields around appliances and devices, and I always add, and any other energies that I need to know about that I may not be aware of. I'm always looking for something new. Well, about 13 years ago, I started finding what I now call interference energy. And it causes so much havoc in people's lives. And you might say it involves entities, but I don't like that term. It implies demons or demonic activity, and it's just not what I think this is. Even though these are malicious beings or spirit beings, and they cause problems in our lives. This energy, interference energy, is the primary cause of energy problems in homes. It's the primary cause of paranormal activity, although for most people it doesn't cause paranormal activity. And it is connected to literally, you could call it a pandemic. It's connected to people all around the world. And there's more in the world now, I think, than it's ever been before. But I want to tell you first a little bit about what this energy is. I'm going to talk about how we attract it, how the energy affects us, and I'm going to just tell you a little bit about how I clear it. And I'm trying to work on easier and easier ways to teach people to recognize this energy and clear it. Now, I don't like to use the word important, but I'm going to say, especially those of you who are active dowsers, who are interested in space clearing work, what I'm sharing with you and especially one article on my website called "Things That Might Go Dump in the Night," go dump in the night, called "Things That Go Bump in the Night." That article is the most informative article I've ever written. I think it's the best article I've ever written. It's a continuation of my book, Dowsing a Path to Enlightenment, the revised edition. I added 5 new chapters back in 2013, and this is a continuation of it. But the interference energy is typically, we attract it when we go through difficult life circumstances, often traumatic life circumstances. And the most primary things that a kind of event that can bring it in is a life health crisis, especially one that threatens our life, or something that like is we know is going to be a progressive disease that will affect us the rest of our lives and cause many problems that way. But I want to stress, it's not the disease itself that brings in this interference energy. It's it's the, that particular person's reaction to the disease. So one person might get cancer, have all the same treatments, including chemo or an operation or radiation, go through all the same things, and one person might attract this interference energy, and another person might not, because of how they handle their lives and their life situations. The next most common thing that brings it in is a breakup in the family. And it's not just the breakup, again, it's the anger and the bitterness and the resentment and all that's wrapped up into especially a bitter divorce or a bitter breakup. It could also, similar to that, would be loss of a loved one, like through death and a lot of grieving. The next most common thing that brings it in is mental and emotional problems like Alzheimer's, autism, schizophrenia, bipolar disease, bipolar disorder. And when we're in our highly manic states, when they're in our highly manic states or deeply depressed states, they can attract this energy. Chronic depression, people that have chronic depression can attract this energy. Then it can also be brought in by drug and alcohol addiction. Again, like the disease, it's not the drugs, it's not the alcohol that brings in this energy. And a lot of people think, oh, we don't want to mess with pot or alcohol or any drugs because that attracts entities. It's not the drugs or the product itself. It's the deep, dark states of mind that people will get into, or raging states of mind, or angry, raging, that kind of state of mind. That's what brings it in. That can be a result of abuse of drugs and alcohol. Now, what happens is, I'm going to describe this. It's going to seem like a sequence of events, but it's really more like it happens simultaneously. When somebody enters a state of mind or emotion that will attract this energy, intense negativity, fear, anger, panic, rage, depression, anxiety, resentment, that kind of thing. When they enter a deep, dark, a state of mind, a negative, intensely negative state of mind or emotion that will attract this energy, it's like we open a crack between the worlds or the dimensions, and energies in the next dimension or the astral plane can connect to us. Once that happens, it sets up in the home in certain places, and those certain places happen to be, for some reason, 2 bathrooms and a closet on the same floor of the home where that person physically is or is energetically imprinted or connected. And we always are imprinted around our beds. Those of you who are familiar with my work, I've been talking about bed patterns since I think my first or second talk I ever did at the ASD, and probably 96, 97. 97, 96, doesn't matter. Okay, I know much more about it now. And the human energy pattern is basically the core still of my work, because I work until the imbalances there are no significant or intense imbalances in anybody's energy patterns in that home, not just the person that has attracted interference energy. Let's go back to it. So it connects to a person. What that does, it creates a connection between the astral plane or the next dimension and this physical plane. Then it sets up in certain places again in the home as vertical columns of energy. That's what I call interference energy. I also call them doorways to the astral plane. You might call them portals. And simultaneously, it will cause all the natural energies in the home, especially what dowsers call Hartman grid lines and Curry grid lines. Those are the two of the primary energies that are thought to cause what dowsers call geopathic stress. It will also then affect everybody else physically in that home or energetically connected to that home through their imprints. And it'll cause them to have intense imbalances in their own human energy patterns. And I'm going to be including I'm going to be sharing information with you on my blessing files, and I'm going to share that file too, showing you the seven different sets of imbalances that I find and work with in human energy patterns, and what each of those represent and what's causing those imbalances. So it these doorways to the astral plane allow access to what I call negative beings. And these negative beings are not, again, they're not demonic. And it depends on how you define evil. If you define evil as anything that goes against the good, you could say they're evil. I'd rather consider it to be malicious. But I think they're actually part of humanity. They're part of life on earth. I think they are actually created. These negative beings are created by the negativity of mankind. And this negativity of mankind creates thought forms that can take on a life or an existence of their own. Since they were created by negativity, they're actually fed by negativity. Now, even though the astral plane is just behind this earth plane, and you might say we share space with it, that's really a misnomer because there's no time and space to speak of in the astral plane. However, these beings are really right there behind us. So are angels, so are our loved ones, so are other beings, good, bad, and indifferent. Some have nothing to do with us. Our lives on earth. Some have everything to do with our lives on earth. But the point is, these negative beings for the most part, cannot affect us or the energies of our homes until somebody creates this connection to the astral plane with their intense negative states of mind and emotion. And once that happens, it sets up those doorways, those vertical columns of energy that I find in two different bathrooms in the home, if there are two different bathrooms on the same floor and one closet. Now when they have access, they can, but the most common things that they cause is feelings of you just don't feel as good in your home as you do when you're away. And I don't mean when you're on vacation. Everybody feels better when they're on vacation. I mean, anywhere you go outside of your home, typically, or just about anywhere, you feel better than you do when you're at home. However, these energies will affect you through your imprint even when you're away. It's just much more intense when you're in the home and you feel the energies of the home. Another real common thing that's caused by these energies is sleep problems, insomnia, nightmares, and children and basically all negativity is exacerbated by everybody in the home. Negativity within and in between everybody in the home. So it can cause a lot of disharmony in the home. Again, what this does is that it exacerbates all negativity, including symptoms of illness and disease, and creates this disharmony. And if something hurts, it's going to hurt worse. If you have sleep problems, you're going to have more sleep problems. If you're a little depressed, you're going to be much more depressed. If you're anxious, you're going to be more anxious. So there are ways to recognize the situations in people's lives that might bring these energies might be present, or these beings. It's real. I consider it all energy. It doesn't frighten me at all. However, it frightens many people because it does also, besides not feeling good and not sleeping good, and it causes people can see these beings, especially young children can see them as monsters or scary people. Um, the adults might see, or they might call them shadow beings. Even adults might see what they call shadow beings. And then these effects can range from tappings or rappings on the walls, bangings on the walls, bangings on ceilings. Things can be falling off the walls. I had a couple that's clients of mine just the day before yesterday, that both of them have been experiencing many paranormal activities, and one recently, both of them saw my client's telephone was on a table or a dresser or a flat surface, but it was flat surface definitely, and they both watched that um, cell phone be moved over about 12 inches. They watched it move. Other people talk. These beings also seem to affect electrical appliances. They can turn things on and off. Sometimes they can actually blow electrical equipment. I've had clients that have actually told me that they've actually seen a light switch physically switched, not just the light being tampered with, but the light switch being flipped. I've even had people saying they've seen faucet handles turn and water start coming out of the sink. Out of the faucet into the sink, and just all kind of crazy things. But again, for the most part, these energies, these beings, if you want to call it that, can't hurt us. The reason that they do all this, in my opinion, in my understanding, is they exacerbate all this negativity and cause people to be fearful, whatever, any kind of other negative state of mind and emotion, because that's what feed them. Since they were created by negativity of mankind, when they have access to us in the physical realm, they exacerbate all negativity because it makes them stronger. That's their food. And so I know I've been working with this energy so much, and remote personal energy clearing and space clearing is now my full-time work. I don't even travel to teach anymore. I don't travel to speak. I only travel for pleasure, but even then I'm doing work. Um, but I love this work. It's my passion. Look, I created a livelihood based on a hobby, which became a passion, and I'm helping people with this all around the world. But I'm only reaching a small fraction of the people that could be helped with this energy, and it's affecting, I know, millions of people around the world and causing many problems. Some people, I think, even get put on psychiatric medicines and maybe even enter some kind of mental institutions for a while because they're hearing voices and they're seeing things that don't seem to be there, and I find that often, unless they've really got a serious mental problem, removing the interference energy from the home or breaking the connections to the astral plane will stop all that activity. People can sleep again. They don't have the nightmares anymore. They don't have the weird things happening in the home. And they sometimes people, after many years, for the first time, feel at home in their home after I clear this energy. Now, Most excuse me, most dowsers who focus on any kind of space clearing activity, space clearing work, they or personal energy clearing work, they think for the most part that what causes our problems is geopathic stress. Geopathic stress is considered to be something that happens to us because of energies in the earth. That our Creator put energies in the earth that serve a beneficial function in the earth, it's believed, but that if they're in our homes, especially if these energy lines intersect where our beds or where we sleep, or where our favorite chair or our desk where we work a lot, sit a lot, that it can affect us. It can cause all kind of problems, including illness and even death. Now, that I learned about this back in the late 90s when I started going to these dowsing conferences, and that's what really fascinated me, these beneficial and detrimental energies in the earth that I could learn to find with dowsing, especially L rods. This is now my primary tool. I don't use pendulums anymore. But mainly because I don't ask questions anymore, like yes, no questions, or swinging to use it over a chart. Uh, it just doesn't work for what I want to do, what I've been driven from within to do, what I've been taught from within to do. And what I want to tell you now, I want to tell you now that geopathic stress is not what almost everybody thinks of it. Like they think, oh, there's a stream flowing under your home that's manipulating the energies. It's disturbing the energies in the home, radiating to the surface from deep in the ground and disturbing energies above that. It could be in our homes. And then there's more intense energies. People call them Hartman grid lines and Curry grid lines. And I find all these energies. What I really am beginning to wonder is, are they earth energies at all? What are these energies? And but I do know that they affect us. And a lot of people think that Hartman and Curry grid lines that they're detrimental all the time, and you want to avoid them. I just don't think that at all. I think they're manifestations of the life force. They're here to support us in all of life, including all of life. And they only seem to be detrimental to us or weakening to us if they're detrimental or out of balance. But for most people, everybody has these Hartman and Curry grid lines in their homes, but for most people, they're beneficial. They're clear, balanced, and beneficial. They're supporting us. That's what we want. Now, this is the key. It's thought that these underground stream, energy-related underground streams, and Hartman grid lines and Curry grid lines, again, that are in all of our homes, and then there are other grid lines too, but we'll just stick with the Hartman and Curry because they tend to, I find they all go out of balance in an ascending order. And if you take the key is not just to block, divert, or send these energies away. The key, or neutralize them even. The key is to make them beneficial, and the key to making them beneficial is removing the cause. You see, it's not these energies that are causing these Hartman and Curry grid lines, for example, that are causing the energy problems in our lives. They are basically reflecting the energy problems in our lives because this interference energy connects. So basically, if the Hartman and Curry grid lines are detrimental, and if the underground stream energy fields are detrimental in your home, something is causing that to happen. And that something is ultimately us. And if So you've got to get to the cause. And I find if the Hartman and Curry grids are both detrimental, then interference energy is causing it. That interference energy is either directly connected to somebody that's living in that home, or is imprinted in that home, or connected to the home through their imprints in the circle of extended family and friends. And because those, our relationships with others and with our immediate family, our extended family, and others in general, but especially our friends and extended family, um, those relationships are what really causes these problems. Aren't all of our problems about what's going on within us and in our families and in our relationships with others? So what happens is, okay, now the Hartman and Curry grid lines, I'm beginning to call them something different. I'm beginning to call the Hartman grid lines a checkerboard grid. They're the checkerboard grid. They make a checkerboard grid in your home. I find them about 6 to 6.5 feet apart. A checkerboard grid. You can imagine if there's a, but whatever this checkerboard grid is, even if it's not Hartman grid lines, whatever it is, it's in our homes. Then I call what I consider the Curry grid to be. I consider that, I call that the diagonal grid, because it makes a diagonal grid in our home that intersects the Hartman grid. So if you can do something, if you remove the interference energy from the person that it's connected to, and which then removes it from the home, it really seems the way I do it like I'm removing it from the home, but I'm really removing it from the person or the people that are connected to this energy. And then everything just comes into balance, unless some of those people that are imprinted there and are living in the home are affected by interference energy elsewhere through their imprint, and then it won't affect the people as much in that home. It'll only affect mainly the person that's being affected by it. And I don't want to ramble on too much. I just want you to understand that, in my opinion, and I stated this, my last talk I ever gave at one of the ASD conferences, I stated this: geopathic stress is an illusion. It's not the cause of our energy problems. It's an effect, because you see, the energies in our homes are really our energies. The energies within us are the microcosm. They reflect out into the room that we're in, and reflect out into the home, making repeated energy pattern. There's this energy pattern that I call that I consider it to be the tree of life in Kabbalah. Many of you have heard about this. We each have it connected to us to our bodies. It's like our energy body. When we lie down on a physical structure raised off the floor, like a bed or a couch or a therapist's table or a doctor's table, we get up, we leave an imprint of our energy pattern there, and that energy pattern imprint that we leave in other places is not the way it was, the way we were, like a memory when we left it. It's directly, dynamically connected to us now. So our imprints are out there affecting us beneficially and detrimentally, or whatever you want to call it, all the time. I think it's ultimately good. It sort of stabilizes things. But once we understand that there's these energy problems, again, the primary one is interference energy, we can learn that number one, if you learn to identify it and learn how to find the energies or the effects of those energies with dowsing rods. You could use a pendulum to find it, but I find it doesn't work to say, is there interference energy in the home? Yes, no. Can I clear it? Yes, no. Clear it. No. It doesn't work for me. I've tried it, and I've never worked for anybody that I've been trying to teach, that I've been teaching. And the only way I teach anymore is retreats in our home, where we've gone now from 4 a year to 2 a year, because they take too much of my time too, and I want to devote it to helping other people with my remote clearing work. Okay, so um, what can you do about it? Now, you're getting a link to a website, link to a page on my website with the main blessings I like all my clients and students to have. And I'll also add, you'll also find a new blessing, a new handout that'll show you, again, I mentioned it earlier, the 7 different illustrations of the human energy pattern, 7 different illustration of imbalances in human energy patterns, and what they represent. You'll have all that all that at your fingertips now through the internet, and you can share them with others. It's not proprietary. I don't mind you sharing them. My information's there, as long as as long as you, it doesn't matter. It's okay to share the information that you find in these blessings. Now, the reason I say it's connected to millions of people around the world, and the reason I also say there's more now in the earth than ever before. It's like an unknown pandemic that we have no knowledge of, that we can change, that we can do something about it. And think about it. It's things like fear, anger, rage, panic, anxiety, depression. All those things are things that can bring this energy in. What's been happening since last spring, around in the first quarter of the year, in March of 2020, we have been fed fear. We have been fed information through the media from our governments around the world to fear this COVID, and that it is a very fast spreading illness. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's not real. But I'm saying, we've created so much disharmony in the world and so much fear, and then we've shut down governments, we've shut down businesses, we've kept people out of the public. And they're forced to stay in their homes. The kids are taken out of schools. Many schools still haven't opened up. And people are losing their jobs, they're losing their businesses, they're losing their cars, they're losing their homes, and they're, so you can imagine there's more interference energy in the world now than ever before. That's what causes what we call geopathic stress. Now, up until recently, now I've been teaching about this for many years. And I've been teaching 5-day retreats in my home 3 or 4 times a year now for 14 years. And the last 5 to 10 years, the primary thing I try to get my students to go home with is not just they do get many techniques to help them in their lives, especially my simple blessing process. But I also want to teach them to be able to find and recognize, find, and remove this interference energy. And I have not been very successful. I've been dowsing now since 1986. And so, I don't just, people say you got to practice. I really realize, and I used to say that too. If you want to be a really good dowser, you don't just have to practice. You've got to be passionate about it. If you're passionate about dowsing and about understanding these energies that are behind the scenes in life. And if your energy, and not just answering yes no questions, that certainly has its advantages, and I don't discredit people that do that. It can be a valuable tool. It just doesn't work for me, in how I want to help people. And if you can learn to find these places, and I tell you where to find them in the article, there's several places, the article I mentioned, that you're going to have access to. There's several places in the home, that it sets up: two bathrooms and a closet, and even several typical places in each bathroom, right at the sink, right at the toilet, or right inside the doorway. And if it's around one place in one bathroom, it'll be in another place around in the other bathroom for some reason. But somehow, what I was getting back to is the energies within us. What I want to get back to are reflected and extended out into the home. So you define the energies of your home by living in it. You and your family and your circle of family and friends define the energies of your home by living in it with your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships with them, and with others. And so the energies of the home are you. I think this interference energy sets up literally microcosmically, within us, and it sets up within us like a virus. I consider it to sort of be an energetic virus, and then it reflects out into all the energies of the home. And so again, the energies of our home, such as Hartman and Curry grid lines, or what I call checkerboard and diagonal grid lines, they're not separate and distinct from us. They are here to support us. And if they're detrimental, something is causing it. That something is almost always related to human beings. Could even be dead human beings, earthbound spirits. That's not as common, but they don't. An earthbound spirit by itself doesn't cause as intense imbalances as interference energy, but most earthbound spirits have attracted interference energy before they died, maybe part of the reason they get stuck. And I move on earthbound spirits all the time. I removed interference energy from one today, and then I removed the interference. Then I help the spirit or soul to move on. Now, as I was saying, I have not been very successful in all the teaching I've been doing. I've taught them many good things, all my students, many things that they can learn to improve their lives and the lives of their loved ones, and even others with dowsing certain and blessing. I do all my energy work with blessing services, but I haven't been real successful at getting my students to confidently find this energy and connect to it and remove it. And that's the only way I knew to do it for many years. But about a year ago, I said, I've got to come up with easier ways to do it. I've got to come up with much easier ways to help teach my students to remove this energy, recognize and remove this energy. And since then, I've come up with several more. The last retreat we did back in October of 20, all 6 people were able to successfully remove interference energy from remote homes while they were here, when they couldn't really find the energy itself, because I came up with a new way to do it. Now, since then, I've come up with several more ways. Ultimately, you still need to connect to this energy and not to remove it. So, if any of you know how to find what I consider to be detrimental Hartman and or Curry grids, what you can do is give you something to try right now. Uh, you can get a dowsing reaction to this energy, to a Hartman, a detrimental Hartman or a detrimental Curry, and you basically say a blessing, and in the blessing that I state, that I teach and I use, I say, follow this. I basically say, follow this energy back to the cause of its imbalance and do whatever is appropriate with that energy, meaning the interference energy, the cause, do whatever is appropriate with that energy to bring healing and balance to the complete beings of all who are connected to this home and all that this energy is affecting. And everything changes. So basically, again, I find a Hartman and Curry grid line, Hartman or Curry grid line, and I connect to it, like like right there. I'm connecting to a Hartman grid line, and it's not detrimental. But if it were, let me show you what will happen as I do this blessing. As I do this blessing, I say, "Dear God, if it be Thy will, may the powers of nature converge to follow this energy back to the cause of its imbalance and do whatever is appropriate with that energy to bring healing and balance to the complete beings of all that are affected by that energy. To bring healing and then I say physically, and I pause and think of the physical body. Emotionally, I pause and think of the emotional state, mentally and spiritually. By the time I'm finished, that my rods return to search like they just did, and their interference energy is gone. You want to visualize it as much as you can. Now, I'm going to quickly. The reason I want to. Well, I've shared about as much as I can share with you in 45 minutes. I'm going to be here after now to answer questions. I maybe can go into a little more depth, and but I'll be here for a while, as long as there are no technical problems when we get this set up, and and um, and I'll be hopefully I'll be speaking to you live from the beginning. This is just a recording in case things don't work out right. I really appreciate you participating in this conference. I really appreciate everybody who's putting this together. Dowsing is more than a way to find water and to find other things like oil and minerals and lost objects. Dowsing is a way that as I've said for many years, they're we're using spiritual tools, using using a spiritual process to explore the energies in the spiritual world, what I consider to be God's light. And this is you know, we haven't figured this world out. Nobody, for example, nobody else that I can even have ever even heard of has come up with anything close to this interference energy. Yes, they dowse for entities and earthbound spirits and geopathic stress. They do things that seem to help it, but you must remove the cause. And my book is Dowsing a Path to Enlightenment. It's available through the ASD. It's available through my own website, dowsers.com. And that's easy to remember. The ASD is dowsers.org, and we're dowsers.com. My wife and I work full-time out of our home. If you call us interested in my work or a session, you'll likely be speaking with my wife. She's my everything. And anyway, again, I want to thank you for participating in this with me. I thank all the people that have made this conference possible, and we'll be talking to you soon for the question and answer period.